Okay, this is super irritating because I just recorded an entire session and for whatever reason my camera stopped recording. So I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to talk you through what I've just done this morning. It's well, it was before sunrise when I started this morning, Sunday the 13th. But what I had done was, you remember, hang on. Remember I had that short piece of canvas at the end of last session, and it's just about long enough, but I was concerned that having sewn it in and made my proper allowances, that it wouldn't be quite long enough, so I put it to one side and I pulled out my the canvas that I use, which is cotton twill, and first I check, actually here, let me just get this out of the way, because I have, my other piece here is actually marked off. There we go. I take a moment to ensure that I'm ripping my strips, because this is one thing I've standardized in my kilt production, is that I have one piece of internal canvas, well, two actually, the main and the front apron, but they're all 5 inches wide. And that's standard, that's constant for all of my kilts. So I'll buy my cotton twill and just measure it in 5-inch strips. Now I got to make sure that the strip is correctly oriented to the warp and the weft. The weft runs along the piece, the warp goes side to side. And the reason why I want to orient it correctly is, here's the warp. Quite a bit of stretch. It's almost as much as if I was pulling it on the diagonal. There's quite a bit of stretch. Lengthwise, less so, because we want a little bit of give in the garment, but we don't want as much as that. So I've marked these in advance. I already marked them 5 inches, and I rip. This I'll roll up and put away neatly later, but right now I'm just throwing it onto my side table. And what I had done, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be really upset if it turns out that it didn't record this time, the second time, is I place the canvas in under this pleat here and fold it back, and I do it about as deep as the cloth here. And the reason why is we want that extra bit of reinforcement, and having put it in, I push it well into the crease so that the fold of the canvas is all the way to the fold here on the outside of the pleat, in the same way that this canvas is right up against there. So having put those in place like that, I'm good to go, or am I? Because if I sew it right now so that it's parallel with the top of the piece of tartan, it's going to be at the wrong angle in the finished garment. So I stand up and I look down and I look at this radius and I eyeball like so. Okay, I see the symmetry there. Good, that's where it is. And it's at this angle, and I might put a couple of pins in here so it doesn't shift while I'm manipulating the canvas into the fold here. And then when it's in there to my satisfaction, I take a pin and I look, there's the edge of the first pleat. I push the pin through at there. You can't see it, you probably can't see it, but it's coming out right where my chalk is. So having done that, I mark chalk. There's my line that I can't sew past because I don't want stitching to appear on the outside of the pleat. I then, this is well pinned down by now. I got 2 pins there, maybe 6 pins. I then take my strap, my little gauge, and put it in the buttonhole, and then push it to the bottom of the buttonhole and mark it with chalk, and push it to the top of the buttonhole and mark it with chalk. And you see the play I've got there. That's 3/8 of an inch maybe. It's a common mistake to make the buttonhole too small. If you have to kind of push the button, if you have to push the strap through the buttonhole, and if it's rubbing against the sewn edges, eventually the cloth is going to abrade. You're eroding the cloth with the strap, and I've seen that many times with alterations, the cloth having been worn just threadbare from the strap passing through. So I have quite a generous gap there. It's about, again, it's 3/16 on either side, so 3/8 in total. And then my next stage, and it's probably not visible in the camera, starting here at the edge of the canvas, I sew in the same way I sewed here, a back stitch down, back stitch down, back stitch down, all the way to about 8 stitches per inch, so 1/8 of an inch, down to the outside of my chalk mark there, because I'm giving a little more allowance. Back stitched it and overcast stitched it half a dozen times, and then a pad stitch in which the needle and thread is passing between the layers of cloth. It's not visible from the outside, but the smallest catch on the outside. So there's just a little pinprick, a little pencil dot of thread visible there. So I bring it down there, overcast it half a dozen times, and finish it. And then, having done that, while I'm doing that, I'm feeling with the needle. I'm making sure that the needle isn't just catching the tartan, it's catching the canvas underneath as well. And having done that, starting outside, just past the edge of the cloth, the tartan cloth, I do herringbone stitches, as we see here, back and forth, back and forth. And the reason why I'm doing it outside is I'm capturing this edge so that it doesn't curl up later when the kilt is finished. Having done that, the strap goes away. We turn the kilt over. Lay it out neatly. Oh look, there's another piece of canvas. No, I've already cut this to length, but I'll explain that right away here. So, customer is 37 waist. So I mark my 2.5, my center of the strap and buckle, 2.5. And then starting at the very last seam, I should say, on the what will be the customer's right hip, I bring the measuring tape carefully around, matching the radius. And then when I reach here, the edge of the pleat, the right hand edge of the pleat as I'm looking at it, and I bring the tape taut. Hope this is visible. 37 inches. I've marked the chalk there. So I marked that, and then lifted it up and marked that same 37 inches, marked it there. So there's the right hand edge measurement of a kilt for 37 inches. And I've added about 4 inches, the width of my palm, because once again I'm folding back, right? Now, there's my chalk, there's my 2 chalk marks. Yep. I measure from chalk mark to chalk mark, and it shows that I have my apron, when I draw the cloth taut, my apron is going to be 18 inches. So let's just roll this up neatly. Okay. Now here are my chalk marks from right in the beginning when I was laying out chalking out the front apron. There and there. And measuring 9 from the center. There's my chalk mark, measuring 9.5. Because again, I do most of my shaping in the pleats and minimal shaping in the apron. The apron still needs an A-line, even if the person was completely cylindrical, 47 waist, 47 hip, or 37 waist, 37 hip, any measurement, we still need a bit of an A-line, because otherwise it's technically, it matches the numbers, but it still doesn't present the best appearance in the finished garment. So I'm just going to grab a couple of pins, get the chalk out of the way, bring my chalk over, and as before, we're measuring to the inside of the chalk line, so I'm burying the chalk mark in the cloth. Pinned, pinned, pinned. I need one more pin. Actually, I need two more pins, but okay, there we go, good. And one more pin, because here's my incredibly deep apron pleat. Now, when we look at it, that looks, first glance, frankly, even the second glance, that looks like it's too much, because it's fully half the width of the front apron. It's less than half the width down here, and it's going to be less still when we shape the A-line and press it. But as soon as I saw that, I went, so let's see if I can move the center over from this red line to that red line. The customers decided that the red line is going to be the center of the apron. He doesn't want the black line, the black mass, to be the center of the apron. He wants the red line. If that wasn't the case, I could possibly move the center to here to decrease the width of that apron pleat, but we don't have that luxury. So let's take a look to see what happens when I move it over. Oh, one. So if you make this the center, as you can see, I've already marked it. There's my left-hand edge. And even without pinning it, granted, sure, that's about a quarter, but look how shallow it's going to be down there. It's simply not enough. It's not going to drape well. It's not going to look well at all. So we're just going to have to bite the bullet and sew a very deep apron pleat, because it's just, the kilt is just going to look so much better. Actually, I can simplify that. The kilt's going to look unsuitable if we pin it, if we sew it the other way. It's going to look good, if possibly a little unorthodox, if we sew it this way. So there's my marks. Good, that looks about right. Pin the top edge of my pleat. I know some people will turn this into a box pleat on the inside to decrease the width here, but I don't like how it drapes when you do it that way. I've tried it and I don't like it. Right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm double checking. There's my, I said 18 inches. There's my 18-inch for the pleat, and when I pull the canvas taut, it's still bang on, so good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew this pleat. I beg your pardon, I'm going to sew this seam. I'm going to adjust this outward a bit. It looks there. And having sewn this, I'm then going to sew a herringbone stitch all the way to the end here to capture the top edge of the apron pleat. That will be reinforced when we put the top band on, because the top band, when I sew the outside of the top band, it'll be capturing the tartan. When I sew the inside of the top band, it'll be capturing the canvas, so it'll be triply strong. So I'm going to pause right now and sew this, and also I'm going to check to see if the damn camera is doing its job, because it's going to break my heart if I have to make a third recording of this. I'm getting tired of my own voice. And obviously I'm getting a bit hoarse. Okay, good. I'll check back in with you when it's time to move to the next step.